I can see the teams are just starting to emerge from the tunnel now. Villa Park, I can tell you, and if you will have seen their game so far this season, but I can tell you sitting right here, it has definitely found its voice again, and when it does, it is an absolutely spectacular place to watch football. What an atmosphere here in a game with so much at stake for both of these sides, the two form teams in the league right now. Well, the reverse fixture back in October was a turning point in the season for the home side, the last match before Unai Emery took over, and it was in fact a 4-0 thumping at St James's Park. Since then, 11 wins in 17 and at least a goal in every game to boot under the Spanish manager. You'd expect Aston Villa to be a bit confident in this one. Since 2019, they've won all three of their Premier League home games against Newcastle. But interestingly, there hasn't been an away win when these two sides have met for almost 10 years. It's really set up for a huge one here in the Midlands, isn't it? And with that, and with the players out and ready to go, it's time to hand you over to our commentary team, the former Norwich, West Ham and England striker Dean Ashton, and our match commentator Clive Tilbury.
Europe. Whether you voted for it or not, we are still in it on the map, on the globe, still in it at Eurovision, and we're still in it on the football field. Europe is the word that dominates talk at Aston Villa and Newcastle United these days. This stadium has not staged a European game since 2010. Gabby Agbonlahor scored in the last one here. Newcastle's name has not appeared in a Champions League draw since 2003. Qualification is the prize on offer now. The top four in the Premier League qualify for the Champions League. The fifth place team goes straight into the Europa League group stages, but if the FA Cup winners are already a top five team, then sixth place gets into the Europa League too, and that's where Aston Villa start the weekend. Manchester United know they're heading for Europe as winners of the Carabao Cup, but if they finish in the top five, well then seventh could get into the Europa Conference League. So they're the options. Villa sixth, Newcastle third. That won't change today, but both know and accept they will need to maintain their current cracking form in order to continue their push towards European football. And all the golden memories that conjures up for these two clubs. Peter With's winner in the European Cup final more than 40 years ago. Stan Collimore's goal against Atletico here in the 98 UEFA Cup quarter-final. Craig Bellamy's late winner for Newcastle in Rotterdam. Tino Aspria's hat-trick against Barcelona. There have been times in the not-too-distant past when these two clubs were European regulars. It's almost exactly 10 years since either competed on that continental stage. 10 years, Dean Ashton, without Aston Villa or Newcastle playing any European football. When you've watched football as long as you and I have, it's difficult to take in that.
It is, for such, two huge football clubs with the support that they've got. What a reward that would be for such an up and down decade or so for these two sides to have European football at the end of what's been a very, very good season for both of them.
There's already one big match underway this weekend down in the West Country. Half an hour played in the first derby at St James's Park since 2019, and it's still Exeter City 0, Plymouth Argyle 0 in League One. Plymouth can go top of the league again if they win that match. Hibs and Hearts about to kick off at Easter Road. Live on Talksport 2 now. You can hear Sheffield United against Cardiff City, two teams at either end of the Championship, and the National League leaders Wrexham are in action at lunchtime too. Their game at the Hive against Barnet kicks off at 12:45. This game kicks off now. The Premier League weekend starts here at Villa Park, where something has to give. Aston Villa and Newcastle can't both keep on winning. Villa 4 victories in a row, Newcastle 5. Newcastle unbeaten in 6 weeks, Villa unbeaten in 8 weeks. And both sets of fans thinking, we could get used to this. Ollie Watkins in pursuit of a goal in the opening minute. He's got clear. Oh, and he's hit a post. The informed goal scorer in the Premier League sees his first chance of the game. Inside 30 seconds, strike a post at the Holt end and come out. What a start, Dean Ashton.
What a start from Ollie Watkins. And already he knows he's got the pace to beat Botman and Scher. He gets in behind, he does everything right, you think, when he just sits down Pope, clips it past him over the top of his left thigh as Pope dives to his right, and it agonisingly clips off that far post and away. I mean, you'd have to say, in the form that he's in, though, he needs to be putting that one away.
He has scored in 9 of his last 11 games for Aston Villa, and that was just set up for him. Anthony Gordon bringing Newcastle forward. Murphy inside the penalty area, drives it in low and dangerously. Mings managed to get a foot to it. Moreno forces it out of harm's way. But that was an attack which had some threat about it. Anthony Gordon has started on the left for Newcastle with Murphy on the right. I'll run through the two lineups for you in a moment. Right-footed Gordon coming in from the left.
Yeah, I think that, look, you have to be able to switch nowadays as well. But look, back at that opportunity for Watkins early on. Just one ball straight through the middle of your defence, and Watkins was in. The one threat that you know that Aston Villa have really got. That's poor from Newcastle's point of view.
We were marvelling at the Newcastle back four when they were warming up in formation in front of us. Kieran Trippier looked like a mascot who'd got on the field when he stood alongside Scher, Botman and Byrne. They can certainly deal with an aerial threat, but they couldn't deal there with the acceleration of Ollie Watkins. It's 0-0 with 2 minutes played at Villa Park because Watkins' shot came back off a post.
Yeah, but he'll know. He'll already think, right, OK, I know I've got the beating of you two for pace.
Free kick taken by Martinez deep into the Newcastle half of the field where Fabian Scher does win the ball in the air. Trippier clears his lines in a no-nonsense fashion long down the field. Tyrone Mings deals with it, plays it back to Emi Martinez, who rather spoons a clearance forward. Willock is unable to control it. Trippier with a rather loose touch, which is seized upon by Jacob Ramsey, but Aston Villa can't benefit. So now the two teams have lined up. Let's go through them in formation. Martinez in goal for Villa. Back four, Young on the right, then Konsa, then Mings, then Moreno. Dendoncker is playing in a central role alongside Douglas Luiz at the heart of the four-man midfield. McGinn from the right, Ramsey from the left, Buendia supporting Watkins. McGinn trying to force the ball forward to Watkins, but Newcastle managed to deal with that threat. Trippier lets the ball bounce out of play. Newcastle have Pope in goal, Trippier, Scher, Botman and Byrne. And then the midfield from right to left, it's Joe Linton who's playing on the left-hand side, Willock on the right with Bruno Guimaraes between them. And then the front three from right to left is Murphy, Isak and Gordon on the left-hand side. Ball is with Sven Botman, just outside his own penalty area. Aston Villa, as I inferred a moment ago, playing from left to right as we look on from our position in the main stand here on Talksport towards their beloved Holt end. But Newcastle have the ball inside the Villa half at the moment. Byrne takes a throw in. Joe Linton took on a little bit too much and lost control of the ball, but he was helped to the ground by John McGinn. And our match referee this afternoon, John Brooks, gives a free kick to Newcastle United 10 paces inside the Villa half of the field.
I'm just looking when they've lined up in their formations. Bruno Guimaraes, as good as he is, he's going to need a little bit of help because Buendia just drops, and then it's either McGinn, Ramsey, Douglas Luiz, or all three at times will all funnel into that middle area.
Trippier takes a free kick towards the edge of the Aston Villa penalty area. It's one in the air by Scher. He's forced into a dangerous area. Isak trying to turn, just hooked away by Mings under duress. Tidied up very well though by Ramsey and Moreno. A little bit of help from Douglas Luiz, and Aston Villa have the reward of a throw in 10 paces from their corner flag that they're defending on their left-hand side. In front of the travelling Newcastle United hordes, who are on both tiers of the stand on the far side of the stadium from us, as Alex Moreno hesitates over a throw-in and then takes it short to Ramsey. Played back to Moreno, just scooped forward to Ramsey again. Trippier is first to the ball and wins it for Newcastle United. Take wide by Douglas Luiz. Moreno now eventually goes longer, and here's Watkins on the board again. First touch is assured. Just behind Buendia though, and he has to check. Gathers it. Runs with the ball 15 metres inside his own half. Plays it to Ashley Young, whose first touch wasn't the best, and enabled Anthony Gordon to get in a challenge, and Villa have to make do with the throw-in just inside their own half.
And that's what makes it difficult with the way that Unai Emery's sides like to play with that very narrow midfield, is when the fullbacks do get their head up, there's not a lot of options. If Watkins is marked, they don't really have anyone to play to.
Real tempo about the early stages. Martinez finding Moreno with a very good pass, and then Ramsey turning and finding Moreno again, but now in an attacking position, and he's got past Willock, edge of the penalty area. His cross is headed away by Fabian Schär. Really exciting burst down the left-hand side by Alex Moreno, who's keeping Luca Dean out of the Aston Villa team. Unai Emery's first addition to his squad. Esri Konsa now has the ball for Aston Villa. Young just inside the Newcastle half of the field. Live on Talksport's game day exclusive. It's Villa 0, Newcastle 0. Moreno trying to get forward again, but this time Mings' long pass asks a bit too much of him. In an understated way, Alex Moreno is finding his way in the Premier League.
He is. He was clearly earmarked by Unai Emery, who must have been a big fan of his. He's brought him here to Aston Villa, taking Luca Dean's spot, and he does get forward very, very well. And he needs to as well, because of how narrow Aston Villa can be. That's your outlet. That fullback who's willing to be brave and get forwards, that can be the space that you can use if you're a Villa side.
Late challenge on Guimaraes, but the referee plays a good advantage, and Joe Linton sweeps it out to Gordon on the left-hand side, and Byrne is overlapping. Gordon attacking the edge of the Aston Villa penalty area. Just allow the ball to run away from him, and Dendoncker and Douglas Luiz ganged up on him and won the ball back, but Newcastle have it again. Willock exchanging passes with Botman. 10 metres inside the Villa half of the field, square to Guimaraes. Back to Botman again, and now square to Schär on the edge of the centre circle. He goes long towards Trippier, who's gone a little bit too early and is caught offside. Aston Villa 0, Newcastle United 0 on Talksport with Now Sports. With Now Sports you can stream all the Sky Sports football, like Manchester City versus Leicester City, live later today for $11.99. No contract. Search Now Sports. Dean Ashton.
Well, Anthony Gordon on this left-hand side, first little glimpse we've had of him cutting inside, just held on to the ball a little bit too much. I mean, St Maximin is the master of that, of the dribbling. I think Gordon would be better served looking for that quick play in and around the box.
Newcastle have won the ball on the edge of the penalty area. Isak goes for goal, and Martinez has to make a pretty spectacular save. It was driven with power by Isak, straight at Martinez. It was Alex Moreno who was the guilty man. He lost possession right on the edge of his own penalty area. It was a sweet hit by Isak, but it was very much in Martinez's eye line, and he just fended it away and pushed it over his crossbar.
He did, but with the way that Isak struck the ball straight on with the laces, just got it to move a fraction, which is why I think Martinez in the end almost got the right half of his right hand onto it to force it over the top.
Newcastle corner, Trippier takes it, in swinging, Martinez has come for it, and under no pressure is able to grab it and bowl the ball down the left-hand side and try to get Moreno on his way again, and it's early towards Ramsey, and Willock had to react to that, and Newcastle win the ball with Bruno Guimaraes, who's just upended by Jacob Ramsey, and Newcastle United have a free kick 15 metres inside their own half. Both have had their scares during those winning bursts. Newcastle were behind at Brentford last weekend, needed a late winner against Wolves, a very late winner at Forest. Villa also scored late to win at 10-man Leicester, and they gave it some chances to Bournemouth here last month. Gordon with a ball into the Villa penalty area, well cleared, and Buendia can try to get Watkins on his way again. Botman, though, is alive to the danger and wins it back. Byrne tries to trick just inside his own half and is dispossessed by Buendia, and he plays a loose pass. Douglas Luiz comes under pressure from Trippier and is unable to retain possession, but it has fallen now for Jacob Ramsey midway through the Newcastle United half of the field. Comes back to Buendia, and again now to Douglas Luiz, edge of the centre circle. He's forced back to Tyrone Mings, and Douglas Luiz has a bit more space. Now he can go forward to Buendia. Dendoncker onto McGinn, who's playing wide from the right-hand side. Hooked in towards Ollie Watkins. He was eaten under the ball. Ramsey! Aston Villa lead! Jacob Ramsey! First just lit into Villa Park as Aston Villa take an 11-minute lead.
And you may be one of the narrow midfielders, but that doesn't mean that you can't go and get yourself in the box. And he's alive to it, Jacob Ramsey. He's been brilliant since he's got into the Villa side at doing this. Arriving late, Watkins causing the trouble at the back post. It was a teasing ball from McGinn that Pope couldn't come to. Watkins nods it down. Ramsey's there, half volley, left foot, skidded it into the floor. It had flashed past Pope before he'd even moved.
Aston Villa were actually appealing for a penalty just before Ramsey hit that on the half volley. There was a high ball played into Watkins and he was eased under it by Trippier. It was a decent shout.
Yeah, I think they might have got it if Ramsey hadn't stuck it away.
So credit to John Brooks, who played an advantage, and in an instant Ramsey's flashing drive gave Aston Villa the lead. He scored a wonderful individual goal against Bournemouth here last month, an important goal which gave Villa a 2-goal cushion at a sticky time late in that match. But that was a very different goal. It was an uninhibited strike on his unfavoured left foot by local lad Jacob Ramsey, and it's ignited Villa Park. There's a wonderful atmosphere inside here. Sometimes lunchtime games take a little while to get going. This one is not.
No. It's been every bit what we expected at the start of this game for two informed sides. But they have started shakily. That Newcastle defence has been so good all season. They've not really coped with Watkins. He's such a threat. He's been such good form. And he's got that pace and ability to hurt you.
And you know, Aston Villa have now scored the first goal in their last 9 games. They've won 6 of the previous 8. They've been good front runners under Unai Emery. They've won 10 times having taken the lead. But Newcastle did win from behind at Brentford last Saturday when they weren't very good in the first half. But for the first time all season, they won a Premier League game in which they trailed. But let's not forget, Villa have not conceded in their last 3 home games, and Newcastle have not scored at Villa Park on their last 3 visits. They've got to change all of that if they're to get back into this game, thanks to an 11th minute goal by Jacob Ramsey. In our live championship match on Talksport 2, it remains Sheffield United 0, Cardiff City 0 at Bramall Lane. That's live on Talksport 2. In fact, Ramsey's goal is the only one in the lunchtime kickoffs in England and Scotland so far.
It's interesting because both sides, actually, they're happy to play a high line. It means that the whole game is condensed into 1/3 right in the middle of the pitch. And it's just so tempting to just play over the top. And it's difficult for both defences. You've got to get it spot on if you're going to keep that high line, especially with Isak and Watkins, who have got the clever runs and the pace.
And especially when you've got the running ability of the man chasing the ball now, Ollie Watkins, found by Ramsey. Watkins is inside the Newcastle box, and he's forced a really good save from Nick Pope. That was on target from Watkins. Picked up by Moreno, still inside the box. Great burst from him. Ramsey has hit the crossbar. Aston Villa are 1 up, and they've hit the woodwork twice. Young keeping the pressure on. Moreno went for a volley. Trippier reached it first. Willett trying to run it out of trouble. But Newcastle United's goal is in peril. They are suffering back there at the moment because Ramsey has scored. And twice now Villa have hit the woodwork. Willett trying to find a cross at the other end. Martinez gathers it. And Jacob Ramsey, that might have been an easier chance than the one he scored from.
Has to score. Simple as that. At this level, when you get an opportunity such as that. I mean, it was Watkins again causing problems. Cher cannot cope with his pace and his movement. And he ducked inside, took a great strike that was saved well by Pope with his feet. But then when it came out, Moreno was so sharp, so quick with his footwork away from Trippier. Cut the ball back to Ramsey. He's got to score. He's just lashed at it. Rather than placing it, he's just lashed it. And he's just hit the crossbar.
Big clash between Guimaraes and Ramsey in midfield. Referee had a good look at it and decided to play on. Ramsey is still down, so the referee will stop the game. It was a strange one because Ramsey actually miscontrolled the ball, and in his attempt to get it back, he kind of bashed into Guimaraes. I'm not sure the Newcastle midfield player did anything wrong, and the referee didn't think he did.
No, it was always going to happen, wasn't it? Just the clash. You're right, as Ramsey tried to just nick the ball away, which I think he did, away from Guimaraes. And then as he fell, he just came colliding into Guimaraes' hip. And probably a little bit lucky, really, not to maybe pick up a yellow card, because he did miss the ball, Guimaraes, and clattered into Ramsey, who now is being attended to by the physios.
Yeah, it wasn't even a free kick. The game will restart once he has been revived with a bounce ball. You know, Villa's run has been built really on a mean and miserly defence. 2 goals conceded in their last 7 games, one of those a penalty. But Newcastle have the best defence in the Premier League by a distance. 6 goals fewer conceded than anyone else. You usually have to work pretty hard to get anything that you get from the Newcastle defence. But Aston Villa, having made a pretty explosive start, could easily be 2 or 3 up here.
Yeah, they should. They should. The Watkins chance early on is a great chance. Pretty much a 1v1 v Pope. And then that one from Ramsey, you know, when you're 6-7 yards out, ball without any pressure really, you've got to stick that away as well. You just hope that it doesn't come back to haunt them. Just thinking of Ramsey here, it's another one of those situations where it's clear he's got a head injury and he shouldn't continue. Probably there should be a time that he's allowed to come off the pitch, in my opinion.
Well, he's been treated now for a couple of minutes. He is back on his feet. He is moving gingerly, but as you suggest, I don't think it's because any part of his trunk has been hurt. He's just been shaken up by a head injury. He hasn't even come off the field for a moment to gather his thoughts. The 2 physios have left the field. Jacob Ramsey has not. So we'll keep a close eye on him. Interestingly, there was an incident when these two met in October where Emi Martinez, the Aston Villa goalkeeper, was badly shaken up by an injury. He stayed on the field for another 15 minutes and eventually did have to come off. And that was one of those alerts which campaigners, and you know, Chris Sutton leads this, and quite rightly so, because his father Mike suffered very, very badly in that respect. Campaigners really shout from the rooftops that football has got to be a little bit more pragmatic in dealing with head injuries. But Jacob Ramsey is out there, and it's Jacob Ramsey's goal that separates the 2 teams. You'll have had 1 or 2 bangs on the head where back in the day you were encouraged to man up and carry on.
That was seen as the done thing. It wasn't seen as the thing to come off. I can think of a couple of times where I definitely shouldn't have carried on. I missed a penalty once because of it.
Well, play is underway again, and Aston Villa lead here by 1-0. At Bramall Lane, Sheffield United are behind against Cardiff City. Cardiff City in relegation trouble. Have scored the first goal in that game, which is live on Talksport 2. There's been a bit of a mix-up here in the Newcastle defence again, with Nick Pope coming to the edge of his penalty area. Bit of a tangle with Dan Burn. They both went for the same ball. Dan Burn then made a challenge which has damaged Emi Buendia, who is down in some pain. Again, no free kick has been given, but Buendia is looking very uncomfortable indeed.
Yeah, he is. He has been known to make the most of a lot of things, Emi Buendia. He's very dramatic in his style, and that all came about, and it keeps happening, and it's not a good thing to see, is when Pope comes racing out of his goal. Botman in the end completely ignored him and tried to clear it himself. They clattered into each other.
Now a long ball for Newcastle, trying to free Isak, and he just leaves the defender who has consented to the ground on the edge of the penalty area and conceded a free kick. Yeah, those dashes from his goal from Nick Pope cost him a place at Wembley in the Carabao Cup final. That red card against Liverpool the weekend before the final against Manchester United was particularly costly for Nick Pope. But it's probably a sign of the anxiety in the Newcastle defence when Ollie Watkins starts to run beyond them. They're struggling to deal with his athleticism and his sheer ground speed. Forward by Trippier, a really good ball towards Joe Linton, and Martinez has to come dashing out and make a sliding challenge, and he just about gets it right. He got there half a second before Joe Linton and managed to force it out of play. But both teams are pushing up, and because of that, Neither team is frightened to go long and look beyond the defensive line. Watkins has just been brought down by Fabian Schär, and you can hear the uproar inside Villa Park as their star man goes down. How will the referee deal with this? I think it's just a word with Schär.
Yeah, again. I mean, he's stopping a counter-attack, Fabian Schär, and rightly so he gets his yellow. He was just teasing him, John Brooks. It is a yellow card. He's come, it's clever from Watkins, lovely touch inside. Schär takes away his legs and stops the counter-attack.
The referee was just giving himself some thinking time to try to remember how to spell Schär and whether or not to put the umlaut over the A or not. Be interesting to see his paperwork later on. First yellow card goes to Newcastle United's Fabian Schär. The first goal of the day went to Aston Villa's Jacob Ramsey. Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0. Live here on Game Day exclusive on Talksport. The resulting free kick is towards the edge of the penalty area. It finds its way to poke by Schär. The whole of the whole 10 thinks that is a back pass. You don't think it was a considered connection with his goalkeeper from Schär, and neither does the referee. Gordon has the ball for Newcastle 15 metres inside his own half. Beats Trippier. Early forward down that right-hand side for Jacob Murphy. Plenty of support. Isak arriving, and he just couldn't quite catch up with a teasing cross from the right-hand side from Jacob Murphy. But that spelt danger for Aston Villa.
It's the first really good bit of football from Newcastle. Down this right-hand side, Trippier into Murphy. And I tell you what, he almost gets this absolutely spot on. It's exactly where you'd want it as a striker. He's kept himself onside Isak, and then he couldn't quite stretch for it.
We've had one goal at Villa Park, but the promise of many more in this live match on Talksport with Car Finance 24/7 in your corner throughout your car buying journey. Search Car Finance 24/7 today. Ball played up to John McGinn on the halfway line, but he can't control it. Newcastle back on the ball with Bruno Guimaraes. Lobbed in towards Jacob Murphy. Important header away by Tyrone Mings on the edge of his own penalty area. Ramsey clears down the field and finds Watkins, who links with Douglas Luiz. His pass evades Guimaraes and finds Buendia, accelerating into the Newcastle half of the field. On towards Watkins again. Now inside the Newcastle box. Watkins, deflected cross, and it just bounces away for a corner kick. Beyond Nick Pope, but beyond his far post. Corner to Aston Villa on their left at the Holt end.
Yeah, just over 23 minutes gone. Gareth Southgate is here in the stadium. Well, I tell you what, if he's not in the next England squad, I'd be amazed, because Watkins has just been fantastic. His running has just been too hard to handle for Schär and Botman. He's already got Schär booked. Botman there didn't know whether to go and close him down or let him run in behind. He's been brilliant.
Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0. Corner to Aston Villa on their left-hand side. Douglas Luiz has scored from a couple of corners this season. Will take it. Takes it short this time. John McGinn unmarked. Across the face of goal. And it was almost turned in there. I think Moreno was the man who was forward and almost connected with it. As it was, the Villa attack is still alive. Watkins with a cross, and that's just skims off the head of Konsa. Buendia was coming in behind him. It's gone for a goal kick, but it's another goal-scoring opportunity for Aston Villa.
Yeah, they've been excellent, haven't they? And every opportunity they've been getting, they've been looking to feed that into the area. Despite the height that Newcastle have in that back line, they've looked to play it in early. It's a brilliant ball from Watkins in the second phase. And you should discount Buendia, by the way, in the air. He's got an unbelievable leap.
Sheffield United 1, Cardiff City 1 is now the latest score in our live commentary match on Talksport 2 at the moment in the Championship. Elsewhere in League One, it's half-time at St James's Park in the Derby. Exeter City 0, Plymouth Argyle 0. 25 minutes gone. Cambridge United 0, Peterborough United 0. And in the Premiership in Scotland, the Edinburgh Derby is still goalless after 25 minutes. Hibs 0, Hearts 0. Ball played forward by Martinez up towards the halfway line, but cut out by Murphy. On by Joe Linton. Guimaraes trying to play Murphy in. Douglas Luiz is on the ball for Aston Villa midway inside his own half, and he comes all the way back to Emi Martinez. Played out to the right-hand side, and Ashley Young. It is Aston Villa's way now to try to football their way down the field from the back four. Dendoncker was caught there by Guimaraes. Play on, says the referee, because Young has it up towards McGinn, just inside his own half on the touchline. Then Dunker felt that one, he's limping, but Villa have the ball and they're coming forward. 1-0 they lead. Tyrone Mings over the halfway line, finds Buendia in a pocket. Watkins just tries to guide it back to him under pressure and can't quite do so. But Buendia is finding space where there isn't any really in that crowded midfield area. Dean Ashton noted right from the start, both teams are pressing up. And so there's like a 30-metre corridor in the centre of this game where it's very, very crowded, but Buendia is still finding little holes in it.
Yeah, he can thrive. He thrives in those tight situations because he's got that freedom. He's been given that freedom. Is he on the ball again?
Turns, tries to feed Ramsey this time inside the penalty area. Really good diagonal run by Jacob Ramsey. Holds the ball up now. He's got support from McGinn, but he goes it alone. Now he feeds it back to Dendoncker, being encouraged to shoot, which he does so. Hit it with the outside of his foot. I'm not sure he's quite recovered from the injury that he picked up a moment or so ago, but rather reluctantly he had a shy at goal. He wasn't a million miles away, but it didn't really trouble Nick Pope.
No, he got caught with the crowd, didn't he? So many players do, don't they? They hear that, shoot, and off they go and take the strike on. You're right, I don't think he was quite recovered from that challenge, but he gave it a go anyway.
After this game, a choice of listening on Talksport. Adrian will be chairing the Round the Grounds from 2 here on Talksport. And on Talksport 2, Tottenham Hotspur versus Bournemouth is live and exclusive from 3 o'clock. That coming up on Talksport 2, where at the moment there is live commentary on Sheffield United versus Cardiff City. McGinn coming forward for Aston Villa, who lead Newcastle by 1-0. And it's an harassed Newcastle defence. Byrne managed to get a foot on the ball there and turn it out of play, but Villa have a throw in down by the corner flag. And I think the only consolation Newcastle fans can take at the moment is it was a bit like this last Saturday at Brentford. They went 1 down and weren't very good, but the substitutions changed the match. Concer's on the ball for Villa, who have their tails up. Mings has it, thought about a shot himself, instead fed it to Douglas Luiz. Now Moreno comes forward, edge of the penalty area, into the dead ball line, cross to the far post, nobody waiting other than the towering Dan Byrne. Heads it away, but only as far as Buendia. He's challenged well by Willock, and Buendia's attempts to get it back concede a free kick to Newcastle United, and it's a bit of relief and release for Newcastle at the moment.
Yeah, they're struggling, aren't they? The tempo and the energy that Aston Villa have shown, they've not quite been able to cope with, and it's broken down too often for Newcastle when they've tried to play out, and then when Aston Villa have won the ball back, they've got that numerical advantage in the middle of the pitch, and it's able to get Buendia on the ball.
Guimaraes though with the diagonal finds Gordon. McGinn tackling up and tackling back with a real bit of feeling. Knocks the ball out of play for a Newcastle throw-in. It's about 15 metres from the corner flag that they're attacking on their left-hand side. Dan Byrne, the tallest left back in human captivity, 6'6", will take it. Waiting for some movement on the edge of the penalty area. Isak is offering himself. He manages to peel away from Young into the dead ball line. It's held up. It's Willock who made the burst and thought he won a corner, but he hasn't. It is a goal kick. It is Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0. The latest odds are available from Betfair, the official betting partner of Talksport's Premier League coverage. At the moment, Aston Villa 8-11, Newcastle United 4-1. The draw is 5-2. Those odds are from Betfair. You must be 18 or over, and do pay a visit to begambleaware.org. We don't just say it, we mean it. It's a website which will help guide and encourage you to enjoy and manage your betting. begambleaware.org. Villa lead by 1-0. Moreno coming forward is picked off this time by Trippier and is out of position. Trippier midway through the Villa half. Diagonal towards Gordon again. Chests it down well. Fed into the penalty area. Willock has to come out of the box. Gordon now with a cross towards the far post where Joe Linton was arriving dangerously, but Villa dealt with it well, and then Trippier fouled Watkins to relieve the pressure, and Aston Villa have a free kick 15 metres outside their own penalty area.
It's just obvious it's a period of the game where every single decision or challenge is given away by Newcastle, and it's just not going their way. And you've just got to hang in there, and they did it brilliantly. You're right, Clive, last week against Brentford, who were all over them at the early part of that game and maybe should have been 2 or 3 up, as Aston Villa should be. But they hung in there, and you would expect Eddie Howe to be already thinking about what little tweaks he can make, either within the game now or at half-time.
Burn winning the ball for Newcastle and setting him an attack. Gordon coming forward. He's made a lively start to the game as Anthony Gordon, when he's been given an opportunity to do so. Coming forward down the right-hand side with Murphy. Guimaraes has made a run beyond him. Back out to Murphy on the right-hand side. Now Joe Linton just outside the box. Guimaraes hooks it low into the box, scuffed it a bit, and Mings was able to clear his lines. And Watkins in pursuit. And Sherry's on a yellow card. Rather nervously deals with it, but does deal with it. Feeds it into the penalty area towards Murphy. And Martinez goes early and long up towards Watkins because he knows that he's a handful, and Cher again has to make a rather desperate and dangerous challenge and turn it out of play for a throw-in. I can't remember too many Premier League games with, so if I say long balls, I don't mean aimless long balls, but tactically sound long balls being played, and it means there's a wonderful tempo and energy about the game.
But it lends itself to that because of how condensed it is and how high both defences are. When you get your head up, you think, oh, that ball's on to my centre-forward that's making a run, I'm going to play it. And then it is being cut out, and then again it's condensed in the middle of the pitch. I mean, Fabian Cher intercepted the ball on the halfway line. He looked up, and Mings and Konsa were well up towards the heart. It was so condensed, and Cher sort of thought, well, what am I going to do? I can't play into midfield, it's too tight. Clipped the ball over the top. Mings was ready for it and was able to stop the danger.
It is Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0. Question for you about that. Given that both defences are playing so high and there is room for a pacey striker in behind the defences, would Callum Wilson have been a better bet than Alexander Isak today?
Possibly, but I always think in those situations it should be a midfield runner, really. It should be maybe the forward coming short and then a midfield runner going, catching that offside line.
Gordon is coming forward down the left-hand side for Newcastle. They've been better in the last 5 minutes or so. Fed into the edge of the penalty area. Guimaraes rather took it away from Willock and that's lost possession and then fouled McGinn. And a free kick to Aston Villa. They just haven't quite connected in attack so far. Maybe their most dangerous attack was a cross from the right-hand side, which just teased Alexander Isak as he slid in. But he's probably more of not so much a target man, but a forward who can join up play. I would sense, and I've never seen them race, I would suggest that maybe Wilson's got just a yard more pace to get in behind.
Certainly over the first 10 yards, I would say. I think Wilson's always been very sharp in that sense, for sure.
Here comes Moreno down the left-hand side, not for the first time for Aston Villa today. His cross is charged down by Kieran Trippier and out of play for a throw into Aston Villa about 8 metres from the corner flag that they're attacking on the left-hand side. And Moreno is attacking continually down that left-hand side. He will take the throw-in himself, waiting for somebody to offer a target. That somebody is Buendia. Back out to Moreno again on the left-hand touchline. Ramsey is there in a tight situation. And there's a foul by Watkins as he tries to, or by Ramsey, I should say, as he tries to win the ball back. And Newcastle United have a free kick. They put 4 past Villa at St James's Park in late October, but only after Emi Martinez had gone off with that concussion injury. Unai Emery had just been appointed at the time, but Aaron Danks was still in charge on the touchline. Newcastle scored 4 unanswered goals and hit the woodwork a couple of times themselves that day. Aston Villa have hit the woodwork twice already in this game and lead by a goal to nil. Here's Murphy coming forward though for Newcastle, down by the dead ball line. Down back to Trippier. Murphy again is onside in a crossing position, wide out on the right hand side. It's Trippier who tries to whip it in. It's Ramsey who charges it down. It's an awkward bounce for Mings, but he's given time to chest it down and get the ball away. A little bit of a late one by Isak, and he caught Mings, who hopped away painfully for a moment, but he's going to be okay. And it's gone out of play for a Newcastle throw in halfway line on their right-hand side. It's almost as if their back four are just trying to take a little bit of the sting out of the game at the moment and settle it down. Although Joe Linton is now making forward progress. On down the right-hand side, he's asked too much of Isak, who was on his heels. Trippier, a little too anxious to try to win it back from Moreno, has conceded a free kick. It's a pretty competitive sort of game, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah. Two physical sides. And Aston Villa are getting the better of it at the moment. They just seem to be... The free kicks are going their way. Every little loose ball, they're onto it first. They've just got the edge. And Newcastle, when they do get in wide areas, they're not looking to play it in too often, to be honest.
Ashley Young is coming forward for Aston Villa, who lead Newcastle by 1-0. McGinn turns infield, tries to play it left-footed towards Ramsey, and it's on the edge of his own penalty area. Nick Pope, who clears up with a header away. He must have been desperately close to the edge of the box, to the 18-yard line, and so he took no chances and stooped to head it clear. And now Newcastle come forward with Murphy, edge of the Villa penalty area, cutting in, hitting it left foot, blocked by Mings, seized upon by Bruno Guimaraes. He's able to turn edge of the penalty area. Joe Linton with a shot, charged down by Mings again. That was a better effort from Joe Linton. It was a brave block by Joe Linton. There's another foul by Newcastle on the edge of the penalty area, stopping the game, stopping the break. But Joe Linton had a side of goal there.
Yeah, he did. And it's a brilliant block. They just all tucked in together in one big motion. The Aston Villa defence, Konsa, Mings and Moreno, all just really tight. I'm not even sure quite who it hit in the end, but it was a lovely little pass back from Guimaraes into Joe Linton's path. He's in good goal scoring form, and he'd have fancied it. What a brilliant block.
I think it was Tyrone Mings who made the block, and he's in really good form at the moment. It's interesting that Diego Carlos has been fit now for the best part of 4 weeks, but has been unable to displace either Mings or Konsa. Mings has signed a new contract with the club in February. He's only just 30, you know. He seems to have been around for a long time. He was at Bournemouth with Eddie Howe, lost the captaincy, lost his place in the England squad last year. Aston Villa coming forward, but Mings and Konsa are a really good foundation for the Villa defence at the moment. I think Konsa's just got away with a little foul on Alexander Isak, just pulled him back as Newcastle tried to break. But he's a personality defender, Mings. He's always happy to meet the challenges and the setbacks, and there have been a few of those in his career. I think he does have natural leadership qualities, whether he wears the armband or not. Plenty of character. He gave a long interview last week in one of the broadsheets in which he informed us that he'd taken up jiu-jitsu and piano, and not at the same time, incidentally, but he is a man who is determined to step outside of his comfort zone even in his downtime. Tyrone Mings, 1-0 his team lead. Ezri Konsa, midway through his own half, is bringing the ball forward for Aston Villa and going long and diagonally towards Watkins again, and turn back to Ramsey again, and he couldn't quite link with Watkins once more, but they cannot handle Watkins on the shoulder. Newcastle are coming forward though. Pacey burst from Jacob Murphy, a really good one too. Can't find a cross at the end of it. Comes off Moreno, does it? Yeah, it's a Newcastle throw-in down by the corner flag. Really is end to end.
Yeah, it is. And Murphy's probably been their best attacking player down that right-hand side. He's got the beating of Moreno a couple of times. This time, lovely little body feint, and he was away. Just couldn't find the final pass.
Still Sheffield United 1, Cardiff City 1 in that championship match, live on Talksport 2 at the moment. We've got 6 minutes left here on Talksport, where Aston Villa lead Newcastle United by Jacob Ramsey's 11th minute goal. Newcastle are on the ball with Botman. Square to share. He's inside the Villa half of the field. Joe Linton is allowed to turn midway through the Villa half, but he can't find Guimaraes on a run. In fact, Douglas Luiz has won it back for Aston Villa, and only for Willock coming across and robbing him, they could have been exposed on the break. Willock's on the ball now, accelerating over the halfway line. Great intent from players on all sides. Isak forward towards Gordon, he's just offside. But we've seen players in claret and blue and in black and white stripes whose first instinct is to go forward with the ball when they get it.
Yeah, it is. They're just a couple of players off at the moment. Isak, Gordon, I don't think are quite up to the intensity that you need, and they are just being bullied basically by Aston Villa. It was a bit lazy there from Gordon to be caught offside down this left-hand side, and the two centre-backs are so worried about Watkins. Neither are really taking charge of that situation.
Martinez with a long free kick forward. Byrne inevitably wins it in the air. Gordon plays it infield and Guimaraes is on the ball. 15 metres inside his own half. Plays it square to Trippier. On towards Murphy. Providing some zest down that right-hand side for Newcastle. But he fed the ball into the penalty area as Joe Linton checked. They weren't quite on the same wavelength and it ran tamely through to Emi Martinez. Big weekend for Aston Villa Football Club. They're involved in the Women's FA Cup semi-final against Chelsea across the M6 at Walsall tomorrow. That's live on Talksport from 2:15 tomorrow. The first of those semi-finals is this evening, and that is live on Talksport 2 from 5:15. Manchester United facing Brighton and Hove Albion in League. Young coming forward for Aston Villa, who lead by a goal to nil. Into Buendia, try to feed it into Watkins again, but at the stretch, Botman managed to cut it out. Lovely nutmegs from Willock, but he's unable to make progress thanks to Dendoncker for Villa. Buendia, who can't get enough of the ball, is back on the ball. Edge of the centre circle. Invites Moreno to come forward again as if he needs an invitation. It's Moreno once more, edge of the penalty area, crossing towards Watkins, fisted away by Pope, chested down on the edge of his own penalty area by Murphy. He's lost it. Moreno's back on the ball. Ramsey tackled Murphy. Moreno with a blasted cross, turned away by Trippier. Listen, it's an Aston Villa corner.
I mean, he loves getting forward, doesn't he, Moreno? He looks so comfortable when he gets into those positions, and he's not afraid just to feed that ball in towards Watkins as he tried to make his run in front of Pope.
He's a Catalan. He was at Barcelona in his young days. He's got a bit of Jordi Alba about him. He'll be 30 this summer. He's no spring chicken. It was an interesting buy, a left field buy really by Unai Emery. But as I say, he's taken Luca Dean's place and he's excelling. He's won this corner. Douglas Luiz takes it. Well headed away at the near post by Botman. Hit first time by Young through a crowd. The crowd managed to block it, but McGinn has it. Tries to play it across the face of goal. Trippier charged it down. Handball appeals. Waved away. McGinn again. Dead ball line. Header away this time. It's by Cher, and it's another Aston Villa corner. They don't want this half to end.
No, they've been brilliant, haven't they? At ring fencing that box. Aston Villa, every time it's played out, they recycle it really quickly. Playing the ball back in, making sure that they keep Newcastle honest in terms of their defensive organisation.
Douglas Luiz will take the corner again from the left-hand side. McGinn offering himself for a short one again, and it's taken short and rolled back to Young on the edge of the penalty area, and now in by Douglas Luiz. Newcastle managed to deal with that just about. It's hooked away very anxiously by Murphy. Anywhere will do downfield, and anywhere is Jacob Ramsey, who's back there covering to tidy up for Aston Villa, and they can regroup and start to come forward again. Conser midway through his own half of the field, plays it to Douglas Luiz, sidesteps Willock, feeds it forward, down goes McGinn under pressure from Byrne, appeals for a free kick which is not coming. Instead the free kick is Newcastle's for Ramsey's challenge on Gordon. Quickly to his feet, Cher just inside his own half, out to Murphy on the right hand side. He's got Trippier for company. Murphy just outside the box, fed to Trippier. No flag as yet. Played back into the edge of the penalty area. Guimaraes with a shot, and that's just wide. And now the flag does go up against Kieran Trippier. So nothing that followed his cutback would have mattered.
No, he just delayed, didn't he, Murphy? He didn't need to either. It was there just to play to Trippier. It was so obvious. I didn't know why he hung on so long. Trippier was then naturally offside when it got cut back to Guimaraes.
Aston Villa failed to find the net in 4 of the 6 games immediately prior to Unai Emery's appointment. They've scored in every single match since, all 18 Premier League games, and only 2 managers have ever overseen a Premier League that scored in their first 18 matches in charge. Unai Emery has equalled a Premier League record here today. Carlo Ancelotti at Chelsea with Drogba, Anelka and Lampard in 2009. And Mike Walker at Norwich in 1992. Mark Robbins, Chris Sutton et al. Interestingly, the Chelsea run in 2009 ended just round the corner at St Andrews against Birmingham City. But including the cup ties too, Aston Villa have scored in every game since Unai Emery took charge. And 1 goal today, scored by Jacob Ramsey after 11 minutes, separates the teams as we go into stoppage time at the end of this first period. with Villa on the attack again. A throw-in which Alex Moreno will take midway through the Newcastle half on the left-hand side of the field. He's found Watkins, who's been easy to find so far. He fires it across towards McGinn. It just had a bit too much pace on it. McGinn doesn't give it up though, slides in on Byrne. There's a bit of edge between those two. John McGinn plays with edge. And Dan Byrne can't swat him away. His throw-in is to Bruno Guimaraes. 15 metres inside his own half. Fed square to Joe Linton. Out to the right-hand side where Trippier is getting forward again. He feeds it in towards Isak on the edge of the penalty area. Good header away by the retreating Concert. Dendoncker plays it to McGinn. Byrne and McGinn come together again, and this time Byrne fouls McGinn. Free kick to Villa midway inside their own half.
I mean, he'll play against some tricky wingers, Dan Byrne, but he won't have had a tougher time than today against McGinn. I mean, he just works and works and works, McGinn. You know, when the ball comes into him, you know, he sticks that backside in. He won't give it away. And this is just on the halfway line.
I'm not sure he's really a wide player. He's been playing back in a more central role during the last month, but Unai Emery has decided to force him back out to the right-hand side today, but he just takes on Henry Taus. Now, there was a clash off the ball there between Byrne and Bentler. He's been playing back in a more central role during the last month, but Unai Emery has decided to force him back out to the right-hand side today, but he just takes on Henry Taus. Now, there was a clash off the ball there between Byrne. I was particularly well placed to see it. And the referee, John Brooks, has had a word with him, and I don't just thinking about changes in order just to change the direction of this game at half-time. I wonder if that's one he might consider.
One of a few. It wouldn't surprise me if he made a couple of changes. They've been second best pretty much in every part of the pitch, and something has to change to get yourselves back into it again. You know, a draw's okay here at Villa Park for Newcastle, but if they're looking to really cement a top four spot, then you maybe come here and win.
Cambridge United would take the lead against Peterborough United in League One on the stroke of half-time. Still Sheffield United 1, Cardiff City 1 in our live commentary on Talksport 2 in the Championship. No goals in either the West Country or the Edinburgh derbies. We've had a goal here. That's the half-time whistle. It's a goal that barely does justice to Aston Villa's dominance, in truth. The very fact that Jacob Ramsey lashed it in with his left foot in the 11th minute was an indication of how uncomfortable this match was from Newcastle United's point of view. From the very first minute, when Ollie Watkins struck the outside of a post, Ramsey went on to rattle the crossbar a few minutes after he'd scored. And really, Newcastle United haven't had a glaring opportunity of the quality of the 3 or 4 that Aston Villa have made in this first half. And so if there's any good news for you Geordies listening in, it is that it's only Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0.
And that's the emphasis, isn't it? Clive Tilsley, thank you very much for that, because Aston Villa have been dominant in every aspect of that game. It's been an incredible watch, Dean Ashton, end to end from start to finish of that opening first half. Newcastle really not at the races. They don't look like themselves. Aston Villa defending diligently, going forward intelligently, finding spaces, first on pretty much every ball, and if they lose possession, they recover it so quickly as well. They've been an absolute menace against Newcastle today.
Yeah, I mean, the effort levels of the players have been immense, and it's what's required if you're going to play for Emery. You know, that's his style. He's happy for the team to go and press and win the ball back, but they do it in a very structured way with that real tight midfield. So the spaces out wide, Newcastle just haven't utilised that at all. When they've played it through the middle, they've been dispossessed. They've been then counter-attacked against. You know, Buendia's been brilliant. Watkins has been excellent. Yeah. It's just really worked for Aston Villa in that first half. But they've made it work because of their efforts. And I think it's down to Eddie Howe to change something at half-time, because they haven't looked as good as they have all season. It was a difficult start against Brentford last week, and they look shaky.
Yeah. Could we see a carbon copy, though, of what we saw at Brentford last week? Because they were down in the first half against them and they went on to win that game. I mean, there's every possibility, but I feel that the dominance that Aston Villa are showing in this one requires a big change. And if you are going to make a big change, as Eddie Howe might do, what would you do? You mentioned in commentary Anthony Gordon not looking strong enough.
I mean, he's been okay. You know, he's looked lively when he's got the ball, but without the ball, he hasn't been as intense as he needs to be. He's up against 37-year-old Ashley Young. You would expect a young lad who plays on the wing to be terrorising it, and he's not. He's been bullied by him because of probably the wiseness that Young has got, the way he uses his body, the way he pushes into... Well, Gordon, you've got to be ready for that. It's the same with Isak. Isak's been bullied by Konza and Mings. They've just been too physical for him. Well, don't get involved then. Either come short or really look to run in behind, which he hasn't done as yet. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see Wilson to come on and just allow Isak that little bit of freedom away from those two centre-backs. But with how congested it all is, it is just crying out for a late runner from midfield, for either side really, to break that offside trap that both are trying to play. Yeah,
they're playing so high, aren't they? But I mean, just in a nutshell, you said when you looked at the starting lineup, you said that is an Unai Emery side all over. Is that an Unai Emery performance all over as well?
Yeah, it is. It's almost like that inner football pitch within the main pitch, and that inner football pitch, we are going to crowd that, and we are going to be really, really intense in that area, and we'll see if you can cope with it. And if you can't, then we're going to win the ball back, we're going to play it to our creative players, or we're going to look for Watkins. And Newcastle just haven't figured that out yet. All the space is out wide for them, and they haven't used it enough. They haven't switched the play quick enough. Burn, yes, defensively he really does a great job, but when you want to get out and wide, that's when maybe you need a target on the opposite side to Trippier to then be able to switch, and out you go the other side, and that might cause Villa a few issues. Yeah, well, it's so interesting to see what Eddie Howe will do in that second half. We've got just under a quarter of an hour to decide how he's going to try and impact this game, because at the moment they are not looking at the races. Being Grand National weekend, of course, it is all Aston Villa. It's been an immense first half here at Villa Park. The crowd are absolutely up for this one. Of course, European qualification in the balance, or in the offing for both of these sides, and it's we're expecting a huge contest. So far it's been one-sided. At half-time it is Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0. A huge second half is up next.
Game day exclusive on Talksport with Car Finance 24/7. They'll take care of the money stuff, so you can focus on finding your dream car. Search Car Finance 24/7 today. Representative APR 19.9%. Car Finance 24/7 is a credit broker, not a lender.
We all fantasize about our perfect home. Sipping a morning coffee out on the terrace. Good morning, Mr. Squirrel.
Morning.
The kids building a treehouse in the garden.
I'm living my perfect childhood.
But come on, this isn't real. Listen, if you're serious about making your fantasy a reality, find out what your home is worth instantly with a free online valuation estimate. Get real about moving. Get on the market. Most common time to obtain an online quote between 1st of June 2022 and 30th of September 2022 is under 3 minutes. Excludes Northern Ireland.
We've got it at Selco. Selco, it's where the trade goes.
At a time when prices just seem to be going up, it's great to know that some prices aren't. In April, we're locking the price of quotes for 6 months. That's right, with a Selco quote lock, quoted prices in April will be held for 6 months. Find stacks of stock and great trade prices at Selco Builders Warehouse and online at selcobw.com. Exclusions apply.
We got it at Selco. Selco, it's where the trade goes.
Please see website for terms and conditions.
In sport, what's just as important as the goals, the glory, the roar of the crowd? Yes, it's the half-time break. Time for a breather, a reset, to keep everything on track. In sports betting, Betfair's safer gambling tools help you do that too. Like timeouts, so you take that all-important half-time break. Or deposit limits, to help you keep count. Manage your play at safergambling.betfair.com. Simple ways to stay on top of your game with Betfair.
18 plus begambleaware.org.
And he's barrelled it straight through the midfield into the Village Hotel Pub and Grill fan zone, the home of big screen live football. A long volley over the stadium seats by the giant screens into the left-hand corner of the bar, past a winning lineup of ice-cold beers and a magnificent menu of mouth-watering footy food. Result! Enjoy the perfect big match experience with food, drink and live football at a Village Hotel Pub and Grill fan zone at 33 UK locations. Find your nearest venue and win monthly prizes, including match tickets at villagehotels.com/fanzone. Get in! Conditions apply. 18 plus. Always drink responsibly.
For all the top Premier League analysis, listen to The Game, the Premier Football podcast from The Times. Every Monday and Thursday, join Hugh Woosencroft and a host of big-name guests for in-depth reaction and opinion on the latest action and the biggest issues in the world of football.
It's a massive goal!
Hear previews of all the upcoming matches and provocative and compelling opinions from some of the finest football writers from The Times and The Sunday Times.
Lovely bit of football!
Listen to The Game on the free Times Radio app or wherever you find your podcasts.
Rodri to De Bruyne, flicked on to Walker. Goal! No one saw that coming.
Or as we say in Japan, no warutaka wa tsume o kakusu. The smart hawk hides its talents. For a taste beyond the expected, Asahi Super Dry, official beer partners of Manchester City. Enjoy responsibly. Visit drinkaware.co.uk.
Bing bong. Attentions please, attentions please. We got big new news. Just Eat now does grocery delivery. No problemo if you forgot the only thing you went in the shop to buy. Want ice cream for breakfast? Caught the cat licking the butter. So, don't cry over spilt milk. Get it delivered to your door from Just Eat instead. Grocery delivery. We got it.
Did somebody say Just Eat?
Only available from participating stores and selected locations. Product subject to availability. Service charge may apply. See justeat.co.uk for more details.
Game day exclusive on Talksport with a Now Sports membership. Stream the Premier League live without a contract from $11.99. Search Now Sports. 18 plus. Stream via internet. Terms apply.
Feel the passion and the pride of the Premier League.
Oh, it's a stunning goal!
Game day exclusive
on Talksport.
This is Game Day exclusive on Talksport, where it is half-time between Aston Villa and Newcastle. In the Championship over on Talksport 2, it's Sheffield United 1, Cardiff City 1 at half-time. In League 1, Cambridge United lead Peterborough 1-0, while it's still goalless between Exeter and Plymouth. In the Scottish Premiership, it's Hibs 0, Hearts 0. And in our commentary game at Villa Park in the Premier League, what a game it's been here. It is Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0. Could have been a few more for the home side as well. Let's get the latest from Betfair, shall we? The official betting partner of Talksport's Premier League coverage.
Game day on Talksport with Betfair. Get a hand from Betfair's popular bet builder and easily add our fan favourite football selections to your bet slip. Terms and conditions apply. See support.betfair.com. 18 plus. begambleaware.org.
Alex Boyes joins us from Betfair. Alex, I mean, look, that first half was immense from Aston Villa. They really should have been about 2 or 3 goals up. But Newcastle not looking like themselves. What are the odds saying in terms of are people expecting them to find their identity again and find a way in this game?
I think some will be. You know, Eddie Howe has been known to make those half-time changes. You've got to remember 2 of their last 5 wins have come from behind away from home when conceding first. So I definitely think there's a chance for Newcastle. They're 11-2 though to turn things around, which is a big price. The draw is 12-5, while Aston Villa, they're 8-13 to go on and win this. I mean, look, they win this, they're 6 points off third, never mind top 4. Yeah. They were in the bottom 3 when Steven Gerrard left the club. So the turnaround has just been immense. And just quickly looking at the player markets, Bruno Guimaraes, he's committed a few fouls. He's looking a bit on edge today, I have to say. He's been a popular pick on the bet builders actually to be booked, with Ollie Watkins to score in the second half, and that is 15-1.
What about the charity bet then for Dean Ashton?
Yeah, well, we need both teams to score, and we need Alexander Isak to score. So they could be ticked off in one. That could happen, but we also need 4 more cards. So we're hoping that, you know, maybe, and I do think it's going to boil over. There's been a lot of Dan Burn, when Deere fights off the ball, John McGinn's moaning. I think there'll be a few.
Lots of moaning. Thank you very much, Alex Boyes from Betfair. That odds update is all thanks to Betfair. Returns accurate as of 10 minutes ago. For verification, see betfair.com. Over 18s only. Conditions apply. Go to begambleaware.org.
Game day on Talksport with Betfair. Get a hand from Betfair's popular bet builder and easily add our fan favourite football selections to your bet slip. Terms and conditions apply. See support.betfair.com. 18 plus. begambleaware.org.
Over on Talksport 2 at 3 p.m, we've got exclusive commentary of Spurs against Bournemouth, while here on Talksport, our very own Adrian Durham will be taking you around the grounds in the Premier League and EFL, and he joins us now from St Mary's. Not a very happy place. Are you happy, Adrian?
No.
No?
No.
What's not making you happy, Adrian?
It could be the worst round-the-ground show we've had all season because the Posh are one down at Cambridge.
The Posh are losing, that's why.
And I've been listening to your commentary, but watching the first half of that, the goal we conceded straight from a corner on half-time, unmarked in the 6-yard box.
Oh, ouch.
Plus, we've been useless in possession, nothing on target. Do they even want to go up? What's wrong with them? I should be in the dressing room giving the team talk. If they don't improve second half, I'm not going to be happy.
No, I know you're not going to be happy. And how are we going to perk you up for this show then? I mean, you're at a really unhappy place at the moment because Southampton is miserable right now. 23 points. I mean, it's not looking good for them. They're up against Palace. We're a bit resurgent, aren't they, with Roy in charge? It's a huge game for both sides, but for the Saints, surely time's running out.
Well, Palace are not the ideal opponents because you're right, 2 wins out of 2 under Roy. They've scored 7 in 2 games. It had taken Palace 13 games to score 7 before Roy's return, so that's quite the turnaround under him. For Southampton, they're 4 points off safety, no win in 5, lost 3 of those. Last 3 at home, they've conceded 9. He's got some issues, Sellers, with certain players, Aribo and Orsic, decent players, haven't figured under him at all, not for a minute under this manager, and that's puzzling. They had an £18 million striker coming in January, sitting on the bench, Paul Onuachu. It's really weird, but the local paper said they must wake up and admit they've been dreaming and they're sleepwalking into the inevitable. Everybody here thinks that Southampton, even the fans, think their club is going down, and I can't disagree with them.
No, it is hard to disagree, and they are one of the many Premier League clubs at this stage of the season that have brought in an interim manager. I mean, what does that tell you in terms of the ambition? I mean, it's a big chance for Ruben Sellers, but if you're not committing to a known person to come in and take the reins at your club, it's basically saying that, well, it could go either way, 50-50, and we're kind of okay with that because we're walking into it.
Resh, it's really weird because Sellers was brought in as Hasenhüttl's assistant. Hasenhüttl left. He stayed on as Nathan Jones' assistant. They hadn't got history, but Nathan Jones had played in Spain. Sellers is Spanish, so they thought they'd work well together. No, so Sellers is the manager, clearly not up to the job.
Yeah, clearly not up to the job at all. We can see Newcastle have just emerged here. Aston Villa have emerged here as well. We've got Spurs against Bournemouth on Talksport 2. That game could have a huge implication, depending on what happens here with Newcastle. Of course, I'm a Spurs fan, so I'm going to be a little bit biased up the Villa, but it's been good for Villa so far. Can Posh come back against Cambridge in the second half?
Well, they've started the second half. If they don't play any better, then no, they're going to be done. Our playoff hopes will be done as well.
Oh my goodness! And I tell you what, Eddie Howe's got the cameras on him now. All eyes on him to see what he can do in the second half here at Villa Park. Adrian Durham, great to talk to you. Good luck to the Posh. Good luck to you and your show later on. And out here, the players are out for the second half. It's time to hand you back to our commentary team. Dean Ashton is alongside Clive Tilsley.
Thank you, Reshman. What Eddie Howe hasn't done is make any changes. Neither coach has changed the original lineups. I mean, 7 weeks ago when they lost to Manchester United at Wembley, you just wondered if their momentum had stalled and it might take another year to piece together a team and a squad ready to challenge the elite. They took 3 points from 4 games prior to that final, but they played okay at Wembley and they made chances at Manchester City the following week, and since then they've really clicked back into gear with a run of 5 straight wins, got better and better during that run, but they had a difficult 45 minutes at Brentford last Saturday. Not only recovered from it to win the game, but to control the closing stages of that game. And Dean Ashton alongside me, they need something similar again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes to see whether he's changed anything tactically. I am surprised he hasn't made a change. They were very poor, really, when you think about it in that first half. Didn't really create a lot. Were on the back foot and probably should have been 3-0 down. But he trusts his players.
Free kick in an attacking position for Newcastle, headed on by Botman from Trippier, but he was guilty of a push. When I say he, Sven Botman was guilty of a push. He's 23, Botman. He is the youngster in a back four of 30-somethings. And We talk an awful lot about who Newcastle United are going to buy next, simply because they can buy and buy and buy. But Trippier, Schär and Byrne are all in their 30s now.
Yeah, I mean, having that experience alongside him, I think, has really helped him develop this season in that Newcastle back line.
The other interesting element of that is that most of the Newcastle United substitutes bench this afternoon are out of contract at the end of the season. So there is going to be a big turnover. One or two players who've served Newcastle pretty well in recent years have run down their contracts and are maybe not quite up to the ambitions that the club have now. Byrne and McGinn coming together at the start of the second half, but play on, says the referee, as McGinn finds Ramsey, who races forward into the penalty area, tracked by Joe Linton, eventually cleared by Schär. Newcastle just trying to settle down again. Byrne's having a difficult afternoon against McGinn. Now Botman has to clear his lines from the edge of his own 6-yard box. Aston Villa trying to pick up where they left off. If you have just joined us during the course of the afternoon on this game day exclusive on Talksport, Aston Villa not only lead Newcastle United by 1-0, they lead them very deservedly indeed. It's been a high-octane Aston Villa performance in a game which has had plenty of tempo and excitement, but Aston Villa have been excellent to this point and are a little unfortunate not to be further ahead. Ramsey feeding Moreno down the left-hand side, on towards Watkins again, taking it in his stride. He's a little bit wide, trying to get past Botman. Ollie Watkins! Oh, forces a really good save from Nick Pope. It was wonderful centre-forward play by Watkins. The odds looked against him, but he not only squeezed in a shot, it was on target and he had power.
Yeah, it's great centre-forward play, because he does just shift it a couple of times just to stop a defender blocking it, and then looks to whip it in towards the goal. But that's twice now, the same finish right at Pope, and he's been able to save with his feet.
Murphy coming forward though for Newcastle. Villa caught out a little bit. Edge of the Villa penalty area, drives it in and just wide. Went for goal himself this time. Well struck, angled shot, Jacob Murphy, and it missed the right hand post of Emi Martinez by no more than a foot or two.
I'm afraid it happens too often though for Murphy. So much of his build-up play is terrific. Gets himself into those positions. He's a brilliant striker of a ball, but you've got to do more. At this level, you've got to hit the target. You've got to make the goalkeeper work when you get those opportunities, and he doesn't do it often enough.
Ashley Young is on the ball for Aston Villa. Forward towards McGinn, who lets it run, and Buendia just tried to turn away from Botman but can't do so. Guimaraes is in possession for Newcastle. Halfway line, it's Joe Linton. Stabs it square to Botman. Byrne, left-hand touchline. Spoon forward down that touchline towards Anthony Gordon, but Dendoncker is across with the cover for Aston Villa. Plays it to the edge of the penalty area where Konsa clears his line, but Byrne has won it back, and now Willock's on the ball. Sharp challenge from Dendoncker. Byrne tries to win it back, but in doing so plays a ball that's far too strong for anybody to catch and goes out of play for a goal kick. Let me run through the two teams for you quickly. They are, as we started, Aston Villa made one change from the weekend because of the injury to Leon Bailey and brought Leander Dendoncker into the team. So they got Martinez in goal. Back four is Young, Konsa, Mings and Moreno. Midfield from right to left, McGinn on the right, then Dendoncker, Luiz and Ramsey on the left, with Buendia just off Watkins up front. Newcastle United also made one change, giving Anthony Gordon his second start, leaving out Sean Longstaff, and so they've got Pope in goal. Their back four is Trippier, Schär, Botman and Byrne. Their midfield three is Joe Linton, Guimaraes and Willock, and their front three is Murphy, Isak and Gordon. 1-0 Aston Villa lead. On the ball is Douglas Luiz, crossing the halfway line with a busy run, scampering forward, finding Moreno, who spent most of his time, it seems to me, in the Newcastle half rather than defending in his own half. He just got a little knot there and he couldn't control the ball. It's gone out of play for a throw in.
Yeah, he's just had a word though with Douglas Luiz, because it really opened up, and he's clever at spotting that Moreno. As soon as there's a gap, he's gone and he's into it. He's just saying, you've got to play that early, make the most of that when Trippier just got drawn in towards midfield.
Elsewhere today, live on Talksport 2 at this moment, Championship, Sheffield United 1, Cardiff City 1. In League One, it's Exeter City 0, Plymouth Argyle 1 with 7 minutes to go in the West Country derby. Cambridge United 1, Peterborough 0 early in the second half in that game. Murphy coming forward for Newcastle. His cross is turned away by Mings. And as far as Guimaraes. Now Trippier back out to Murphy again on the right hand side. Isak inside the penalty area. Feeds it out to Trippier again. Cross into the box. And Mings manages to adjust his position and make a good volleyed clearance. Hasn't really cleared his lines though. Douglas Luiz has to try to do that. And he can do that with a free kick. In Scotland, in the Premiership, early in the second half at Easter Road, it's still Hibernian 0. Heart of Midlothian 0. Dean Ashton.
Yeah, they're frustrated down there, Eddie Howe and his assistant Tyndall, who was name checked by Thomas Frank after that game at Brentford as someone who was in the fourth official's ear. They're not happy. They feel like every single decision's going against them, and that Aston Villa are just starting to take their time with every single free kick.
I think Jason can talk his own corner, it's fair to say.
I think so, just a bit, yeah.
Free kick to Aston Villa, edge of the penalty area. Martinez takes it. Watkins jumps in front of Botman and actually won it in the air. Trippier clears his lines. Joe Linton out to the right hand side of Murphy. Early forward by Trippier, but not with any control. Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0. Jacob Ramsey's goal after 11 minutes. First substitution is being considered. Jason Tyndall, in fact, is calling, I think, Miggy Almiron and Callum Wilson. Almiron, who hasn't figured for nearly 5 weeks. He was, of course, a regular in the team until injury came along. A thigh problem which he picked up in training. I don't think he's done a great deal of training this week, so this is maybe a sign of where Newcastle are at. But Wilson and Almiron are being ready. Buendia as Villa come forward. Edge of the penalty area, Young almost reached Ramsey. It came off Trippier. He didn't have any control over the clearance. Squirted off him for a corner, but he got his body in the way.
Yeah, again, I mean, I thought it would be Newcastle that would use the wide areas, but actually it's Aston Villa have been brilliant at it. They just keep sucking in Newcastle players into that congested middle of the park, and then they spring out their fullbacks. This time Ashley Young with the ball across.
Corner from the Villa right, which will be taken left-footed by McGinn. They've worked this short one again. Douglas Luiz chipped to the edge of the penalty area for Ramsey to volley. Took a touch and then missed it. And Newcastle might be able to break here, but it's fallen for Watkins in actual fact. Douglas Luiz can keep the attack alive, chips it into the penalty area. This is a mystery to me that Newcastle United are allowing Aston Villa to take a short corner. When I say a short corner, it's not as short as usual. The ball's being played 7 or 8 metres to somebody.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, to be honest. But I felt like booing Ramsey there because it was on for the volley on the edge of the box. It was perfect to hit that first time.
I mean, they're doing it again. McGinn's going to take it. Douglas Luiz is standing edge of the penalty area. McGinn takes it long this time. Oh, and Pope missed it. He was fouled in actual fact by Mings. Free kick has been given. Newcastle have some relief. But, I mean, Newcastle United know it's happening, but they're letting it happen. It's clearly a decision that they're taking not to go out and mark the player who's receiving the ball. Anyway, here come the Newcastle United changes. Anthony Gordon's day is over. It'll be interesting to see how he reacts when he arrives at the bench. Let's see if Eddie Howe offers him a handshake. Gordon comes off, handshake taken. Almiron's on 2, Wilson's on also, and Jacob Murphy has gone off. And so we've got Isak and Wilson together in the Newcastle United attack for only the 4th time. They've had just over 100 minutes or so of football together as twin strikers. Isak will drop off a little bit and play just off Wilson, but they're on the field together again, and they turned it round at Brentford last week.
Yeah, and what they do is Willock just goes out to the left-hand side, Almer on the right, and they go to a 2 in the middle, Guimaraes and Joelinton.
Here is Isak, crossed in towards Wilson! Oh, he's forced to save, he's offside. Almiron was closing in. Well, it nearly clicked straight away. It was Almiron's cross, it was Wilson's finish, but he was offside.
Only by a fraction. Just peeled off the back of Tyrone Mings. Callum Wilson, but just strayed a fraction. Great ball in by Isak, and Wilson just offside, but already That's what he'll do more, Wilson. He'll be right on the shoulders of the defenders.
He got the first 2 goals when Newcastle beat Aston Villa up at St James's in October. Gareth Southgate was watching that day, and that was significant because he was just about to name his World Cup squad. Wilson knew he was there, put on a bit of a show, and made that World Cup squad. Wasn't in the last England squad. Bird and McGinn clashing again. The decision going, as you heard, Aston Villa's way. Did Bird pick up a yellow there? Didn't see it. But it's a free kick to Villa just inside the Newcastle half. Douglas Luiz takes it. Watkins running free inside the box. Botman catches up with him eventually. It's a corner kick, but it was a situation of menace again, and it was Ollie Watkins again.
Oh, if he doesn't score today, Watkins, he'd be so disappointed. He's just been so good against the pair of them.
Gareth's here today, and he'll be sitting next to an Aston Villa fan of some description in the director's box, and he'll be elbowing him and pushing him and nudging him and saying, look at Ollie Watkins, better than Ivan Toney. McGinn takes it towards the far post. Easy catch this time for Nick Pope, and he bowls it out, and forward comes Isak down the right hand side. Dendoncker managed to match him stride for stride and make a challenge, and Ramsey can go all the way back to his goalkeeper. You're listening to Aston Villa 1, Newcastle United 0 on Talksport with Now Sports. With Now Sports, you can stream all the Sky Sports action like Manchester City versus Leicester City live today for $11.99. No contract. Search Now Sports. Douglas Luiz on the ball for Aston Villa. Pirouetting, halfway line, plays it back to Ashley Young. Forward to Dendoncker, whose inclusion was a surprise, but has been a success so far. Given away this time, though, and Young fires in on Wilson and brings him down, but advantage played because Willock's on the ball for Newcastle United, into the dead ball line, finds a cross, Almiron jumped underneath it, might come for Isak, edge of the penalty area, Alexander Isak, good save. It was at a good height for Martinez, it was a curler from Isak, not unlike the one he scored last week, and Martinez shuffled to his left and turned it away.
Yeah, I love the footwork, though, from Isak on the edge of the box. When it came to him, he just manipulated the ball just to give him the best angle to get that right foot shot on. Tried to get it towards the far corner, was too close to Martinez, and you're right, just made a simple save.
Corner kick on the right-hand side to Newcastle United, who are attacking the Holt end of Villa Park, for those of you who know this famous old stadium, a stadium in which Newcastle have not scored in their last 3 visits. Their last goal at Villa Park was in the Championship in 2016. They need one desperately now. Trippier will take the corner from the right-hand side. In towards the heads. Cher attacked it, so did Watkins, got it away. Back in by Guimaraes. Almiron's underneath it. Almiron volleys into the side netting. It was a tight chance, it was a tight angle. He had to control the spinning ball, chest it down and hit it first time, and he hasn't played for 5 weeks.
No, but he was bright and alert, wasn't he? And Guimaraes, beautifully crafted ball over the top as the Aston Villa defence came rushing out. Almiron onto the chest, and of course he was desperate to get his left foot on it. Naturally, that would be better to take it on the chest, across to your right foot and volley back across goal. Instead, with his left foot, narrowed the angle and into the side netting.
In our live game on Talksport 2, Sheffield United have come from behind to lead Cardiff City by 2-1 at Bramall Lane. Forward come Aston Villa. Watkins is in again, and Watkins has scored again. He is unstoppable at the moment. Ollie Watkins on fire. Just listen to the reception for his 14th goal of the season at Villa Park. He scored in 10 of Aston Villa's last 12 games. Ollie Watkins makes it 2-0.
And it's a mix-up to start with from Newcastle, Trippier and Joelinton. And the ball from Moreno is just sumptuous. Now, this is going to be close, and it will be checked because he's right on the edge of that line. And I just wonder whether his knee, as he's gone to step in behind, has just gone a fraction early. If so, he's so unlucky because he gets through and he coolly slots underneath Nick Pope.
The lines are out, folks. And this one is a photo finish. If the Grand National is this close, At tea time today, I think it might be a dead heat. I really wouldn't want to call it from a freeze frame that we're looking at and the tiny monitor in front of us here at Villa Park. I think the lines are touching, in which case, no flag, don't forget. We've got a close-up of Ollie Watkins shaking his head as if to say he thinks he was well onside. Whether he's onside or offside, he's not well. No, offside. Goal doesn't stand. The big roar is from the travelling Newcastle fans. It's only 1-0. And Ollie Watkins hasn't scored today yet. But he's looked like scoring every time that Aston Villa have threaded a ball through to him like that.
Oh, he needs to have a word with himself. You know, he's all of the width of his sock offside, Ollie Watkins. That is the brutality of VAR when it comes to celebrating a goal.
Simon Hooper is the man at Stockley Park today. And I think he must have had the magnifying glass out on that one. Here come Villa again. John McGinn. He's got options right and left. McGinn, edge of the penalty area. Just over. Just over. But Newcastle United were exposed there. I'm not sure that the changes have really had the desired effect. Obviously, they want to get back in this game. And obviously, Almiron and Wilson give them more options to do that. But they're wide open.
We've got to give credit to Aston Villa. They've been so good, honestly. When they've won the ball back, they've just broken with such pace and numbers. They've caused Newcastle so many problems, and McGinn was unlucky.
Watkins is breaking again here. The forward ball is beyond him. But the best defence in the Premier League, statistically, by a distance, by the way, have been under pressure from the very first minute today, and they haven't been able to live with Aston Villa. Dendonker's on the ball for Aston Villa. Fed forward to Emi Buendia, allowed to turn, run at Newcastle again. Feed Watkins, back to McGinn, edge of the penalty area. Checks, allowed to check, allowed to make a decision. Moreno, inside the box, in square. Watkins, 2-0. Ollie Watkins scores again and again and again. 14 for the season. He scored in 10 of his last 12 games. All kinds of goals. And that was a poacher's goal. Just turned inside the 6-yard box, passed it into the goal. It's no more than Aston Villa deserve. They lead by 2-0. They have been brilliant today.
And there was definitely an extra few yards on that knee slide from Ollie Watkins. Because of having that one chalked off, they were patient. John McGinn didn't just play the ball in, he played it to Moreno, slipped it through the legs of Trippier as the cross came in. Watkins was alive. Lovely touch with the back foot of the left. Quick swivel away, and it's just a blind effort. He can't see where Pope is, where the defender is. But when you're on the 6-yard line and you're a centre forward back to goal, just swivel and hit. Brilliant play. It's in the back of the net.
Only Manchester City and Liverpool have scored 2 goals against this Newcastle defence in a single game in the Premier League this season until now. Until Ollie Watkins made it. Aston Villa 2, Newcastle United 0. Denied by VAR and by a whisker just a couple of minutes early, but not to be denied. Ramsey in the first half, Watkins in the second. Aston Villa deservedly 2 up. And it's a long way back for Newcastle now. Guimaraes, 15 metres inside his own half. Out to Almiron on the right-hand side, just in from the touchline. On to Trippier. Down the line towards Isak. Held up just outside the penalty area, tackled by Mings, wins it back momentarily. Moreno forces it away. Guimaraes back out to Trippier on the right-hand side. Almiron pokes it into the path of Bruno Guimaraes. Tries to peel away from Douglas Luiz and can't do so. Newcastle win it back. Almiron attacks the edge of the box. Trippier slipped into Guimaraes, pulled across the face of goal. Wonderful work again by Tyrone Mings. Got across there and made a challenge, but Joe Linton has it back for Newcastle. Sustained pressure from them. Down at the Holt end of Villa Park. Aston Villa lead by 2-0. Newcastle on the attack. Almiron goes down as he runs into Moreno. Joe Linton feeds it in, but the ball is cut out. 2 Newcastle men down now. Joe Linton trying to tackle Buendia, who's back inside his own half, protecting the ball. And it's gone out of play for an Aston Villa throw in. There's a couple that need attention present. Douglas Luiz is down. It's fantastic stuff, though, isn't it?
Oh, it's brilliant. It's proper Premier League football is what it is. And Newcastle are going to find an answer. Aston Villa have just been so good, and now we're going to really see exactly what that defensive unit looks like for Unai Emery. They'll sit in now, they'll make themselves really hard to break down, they'll have Watkins on the counter.
Sean Longstaff is on, and Joe Willock has gone off. Latest change for Newcastle United. Longstaff, who scored 3 times this season, but he's not ever been a natural goal-scoring midfield player. Maybe not the goal-scoring midfield player that you've been calling out for, really, for Newcastle, really, from the start of the game, to run beyond. And now it's Wilson and Isak, and beyond the offside trap. Matt Targett has come on for Newcastle United 2 at left back in place of Dan Burn. Targett, who left here at the start of last year after 2.5 years with Villa, one of the 5 acquisitions in Eddie Howe's first window, and started this season in the team, but was usurped eventually by the emergence of Dan Burn as an option at left back. Almiron's on the ball for Newcastle United, over the halfway line, trying to combine with Longstaff down the Newcastle right. Challenged though by Moreno. One back in turn by Trippier. Now Guimaraes trying to feed one through towards Joe Linton, but it wasn't a good ball from Bruno Guimaraes, and Ashley Young cut it out. Begin now to Douglas Luiz. Forward again to Buendia. Options right and left. Dendoncker is forward down that right hand side. Buendia feeds it back to him. Aston Villa just happy to keep the ball for now. Mings again. Out to the left-hand side, and Moreno just inside the Newcastle half of the field. Douglas Luiz with a rather extravagant no-looky pass, which was a very simple pass. I could have played it. I don't think I could have played it no-looky, but I think I could have played it. Fired forward, a better pass this time from Mings to Buendia. Edge of the centre circle. No need to show off. Here's Young over the halfway line. Play back to Dendoncker again. Buendia. Aston Villa keeping the ball well. There's a real composed look about them, and a fabulous pass from Buendia. And Moreno's into the edge of the Newcastle penalty area, and he's found a cross, and he's found only Fabian Schär, but he has the consolation of a Villa corner left-hand side.
Oh, we can see why he wanted Moreno, can't we? He has been excellent on this left-hand side. Like I said, whenever he spots that gap, away he goes, and then he's got the footwork, the skills, the delivery from that left-hand side as well.
Still 20 minutes to go. This game is not done. I have to say that if there is a third goal in the game, Aston Villa are still looking the more likely to score it. I keep being told that 2-0 is a dangerous lead in football. Young with a ball into the penalty area, punched away by Pope. I don't think it's as dangerous as 1-0 personally, but there you go. Villa still on the attack, but back with Young on the edge of the centre circle. He plays it long diagonally towards Douglas Luiz, who chests it down well on the touchline. He's showboating a little bit now. McGinn crosses into the box. It's headed on by Buendia. It's turned away rather anxiously by Botman. It's set up nicely for Ramsey. He's fed it into the box. Watkins is on it again. Pushed a little bit wide this time. Tried to play it back. It's gone for a goal kick. It just ricocheted between him, Joe Linton, and Almiron, and goes out for a goal kick.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not time to showboat, that's for sure. They've been excellent, but just keep that humbleness that they've had so far in the game, Aston Villa, and they should win it.
If you are anywhere in the vicinity of Adrian Durham at Southampton. It's Cambridge United 2, Peterborough United 0 now. Still Sheffield United 2, Cardiff City 1 in our live match over on Talksport 2. And there's been a goal in the Edinburgh derby, and Hibs have scored it. 20 minutes to go at Easter Road, and Hibs lead Hearts by a goal to 0. Hearts' gap over Hibs is currently 5 points in the table, so that could be quite a big goal in the Scottish Premiership. Any goal in at Edinburgh derby is a big goal. 2-0 is the Aston Villa lead here. Jacob Ramsey in the first half, Ollie Watkins in the second. You're listening on Talksport with Car Finance 24/7 in your corner throughout your car buying journey. Search Car Finance 24/7 today. Fired forward by Botman and fired without any accuracy, only as far as Moreno. A poor pass by Douglas Luiz, and Wilson was almost in. It was a terrible back pass, and it was rescued by Tyrone Mings sliding in. And he's owed a big thank you from Douglas Luiz. A long ball down the field by his goalkeeper. We can start to look ahead to the 3 o'clock games now, and the team news coming up first on Chelsea versus Brighton from Jake Robson.
6 changes by Frank Lampard from the Chelsea side that lost at Real Madrid in midweek. Badiashile, Pulisic, Chalobah, Zakaria, Gallagher and Mudryk all given starts. For Brighton, and Roberto De Zerbi makes 3 changes from the defeat at Tottenham. Sanchez starts in goal, Ferguson and Webster in for Welbeck and the ineligible Colwill.
Trippier forward for Newcastle United down the right-hand side. It's an aimless one out of play. So let's pick up the team news from Goodison Park. Everton versus Fulham. Graham Beecroft.
3 changes to both teams. For Everton, out Coleman, Onana and Sims. In come Garner, Mikalenko and up front Mopé. 3 changes for Fulham as well. Out Cedric, Bobby Reid and Vinicius. In come Tete, Wilson and Daniel James up front. 3 changes then to both sides. Everton against Fulham at Goodison Park.
Aston Villa 2, Newcastle United 0 is the latest score in our live game here on Game Day exclusive. We've got 17 minutes left on the watch. Newcastle United coming forward, but Joe Linton caught in possession by Ramsey. Buendia over the halfway line, finds McGinn inside the centre circle. Dendoncker with a studded ball back to Young. Aston Villa just trying to control the ball and the game a little bit now. So let's get some team news from Southampton versus Crystal Palace and Alex Crook.
1 change for Southampton as forgotten man Joe Aribo makes his first Premier League start of 2023. Out goes Mohamed El Yunusi. Palace, unsurprisingly, named the same 11 that scored 5 at Leeds last weekend. It's Southampton against Crystal Palace.
Aston Villa coming forward with Buendia, 20 metres outside the penalty area, turning in field. Douglas Luiz has the ball. Clipped over the head of Almiron for Alex Moreno to chase. Edge of the penalty areas in a crossing position. Tried to thread it in. It was a poor one to Ramsey. So let's get some more team news. Molyneux is our next port of call. Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Brentford and Adam Bridge.
Wolves make 1 change from the win over Chelsea. Sarabia is in for Podence, who drops down to the bench. After back-to-back defeats, Brentford make 1 change too with the injured Pontus Jansson, replaced by Brian Mbeumo. It's Wolves against Brentford.
This game has just gone down a gear in the last 5 minutes. Aston Villa have got a measure of control. Their 2-0 lead gives them that. They've been the better team from the very outset. And they are maybe just trying to take a little bit of the sting out of the match and prevent a Newcastle United comeback. And that comeback is stuttering as things stand. Guimaraes trying to change that with a fabulous pass. Right-hand side, Trippier, edge of the penalty area, in low. Almiron fires it in. Mings with another wonderful block. Buendia inside his own penalty area, trusts his skill, controls the ball, plays it out to Young on the right-hand side. Wonderful, old-fashioned, old-school defending from Tyrone Mings.
Yeah, he's there again, isn't he? Him and Konsa have been outstanding once again. That ball from Guimaraes with the outside of his foot into Trippier was sublime. Good ball in towards Almiron. Good touch and strike. That's what you got to do as a defender.
Here come Newcastle United again, though. Trippier. Roll back to Fabian Schär, 15 metres into the Villa half of the field. Square again to Botman, out to the left-hand side now, where Matt Targett might give Newcastle United a bit more thrust down that left-hand side. Joe Linton trying to turn edge of the penalty area. Almiron has pulled wide out to the touchline. He's now running at the Villa defence from that side, but he's forced back inside into a less dangerous area. Joe Linton trying to find some width. Now there's a run down that left-hand side. Longstaff pulls it back, but only to Dendoncker. Cleared away by Ashley Young. Newcastle have it back, though. This is a better spell for them. Longstaff plays it on to Guimaraes. Edge of the centre circle, stood on the ball, lost control of it. Douglas Luiz was in. Almiron tried to win it back. Some big tackles there. Referee had a front row view and saw nothing wrong. And Aston Villa have it. Moreno comes up to the halfway line. And full marks, incidentally, to the man in the middle, John Brooks, because he has given this game every chance. He's trusted the players to a large extent. There have been a lot of big challenges. No kind of undercurrent of any kind of malice of any kind. They've just been at it, and he's let them go at it. And it's been a wonderful spectacle to watch.
Yeah, just two real committed sides without any nastiness whatsoever. And it's Villa that have just come out on top. You know, they have just been really, really good. You can see why they've been on such a good run. And actually, Newcastle have really lacked ideas. You know, I know they've had the odd little half chance here and there, but it's not like they've carved Aston Villa open.
Let's get the team news from the last of the 3 o'clock kickoffs we need to visit, and that's Tottenham Hotspur versus Bournemouth. Joe Shannon's there.
Tottenham are unchanged. 2 changes for Bournemouth. Tavernier and a full debut for Vigna, who both come in. Ouattara and Smith drop to the bench. There's a rumour that kickoff may be delayed as Bournemouth are late arriving. More on that as we get it.
That game is live on Talksport 2 as and when it kicks off. Tottenham Hotspur versus Bournemouth, scheduled for 3 o'clock, and then we can join that on Talksport 2. Either that or join Adrian to go around the grounds and keep in touch with all of the football being played in England and Scotland and Wales today. Newcastle forward with a poor cross from Guimaraes. Took a stretching save from Emi Martinez back there, but it was misguided from the midfield player, who has been nursing an ankle injury for a while. He had painkillers last weekend to play at Brentford. Newcastle United are about to make a change and bring on Elliot Anderson, and he hasn't been particularly effective today, Guimaraes.
No, he hasn't. I mean, I think one of the big turnarounds in Newcastle has been their ball retention. You know, their 7th for average possession in the Premier League, and I think that's largely down to him. He's so comfortable at receiving the ball, but Villa just haven't given him the chance. They've been all over him today. He's been outnumbered so often.
Lovely pass under pressure from Douglas Luiz. Releases Alex Moreno down the left-hand side. 2-0 Aston Villa lead. Ramsey gives it back to Moreno. Crossing position, left-hand side. Little flipped pass towards Ramsey again. Cross comes Cher and heads it out of play. Ramsey's foot was a little bit high, and Newcastle wanted a free kick. They're not going to get it. Instead, they're going to see a change with Joe Linton giving way to Elliot Anderson, who's been regularly involved from the bench the last couple of months. 20-year-old local lad, always good to have that connection with these traditional clubs, Tyneside, Merseyside, Clydeside and so on. Fans like to see a Whitley Bay boy in the team, and Elliot Anderson is in the team at this moment. Cut out by Kieran Trippier as Alex Moreno tries to come forward for Aston Villa, but they got it back with Douglas Luiz, and it hasn't been a big response from Newcastle, I have to say. Mings forward to Buendia. He was crowded out though, and it's Almiron on the ball just inside his own half. Longstaff able to turn, feed it out to the left hand side and target down that left hand side, where Isak is again pulled into a wider position, but drifting in there in that rather languid style of his. He is just clipped by Emi Buendia, and a free kick to Newcastle United midway through the Aston Villa half of the field. Out on the left-hand side, Kieran Trippier will come across to deliver it. Unai Emery doing a little bit of cheerleading and trying to get the whole 10 involved in this, as if any of them actually need help knowing how to support their football team. Here comes the free kick from Matt Targett. It's into the penalty area, and it's headed dangerously goalwards by Cher from an offside position. It wouldn't have counted even if he'd found the net. Newcastle United have been disappointing today, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. They've never really had that energy by the looks of things. They've looked laboured in most things that they've done today. Big credit to Aston Villa for their part, but Newcastle have been poor, and you're right, there hasn't been that response. Hence why I don't think Unai Emery has had to feel the need to make any substitutions as yet, because they've put in the work as well. It's been a hard graft for them today, Aston Villa, but he's not made any changes just because there hasn't been that pressure put on them.
any outcome here today will not change the league positions of either team immediately. But Aston Villa, on this stirring run of 4 consecutive wins, are on the verge of making it 5. They haven't won 5 consecutive Premier League games since 1998. And that is the measure of the form that they're in at the moment. And it's difficult to see any other outcome now. And it really is giving them a fighting chance of qualifying for one of the minor European competitions and bringing some of the teams from mainland Europe that Villa fans were used to seeing in this famous stadium back to the West Midlands. What an achievement that would be for Unai Emery from where they were when he came in.
You do know how the game day phone-in is going to start, isn't it? With Gabby saying, are Villa going to qualify for the Champions League?
Well, he did score in the last European game played on this ground, 1937. No, it was later than that. No, he did score 10 years ago in the last European game played. They went out, by the way, but he did score. Well, unless there's another Agbonlahor, and I don't think there is. There can't be. Let's hope not. Here's Young on the touchline, tackled by Target, but Villa are winning it back, and McGinn has been so plucky today. Fed into the box, Buendia, Watkins! I don't need to tell you what comes next. Aston Villa 3, Newcastle United 0. Go on, I'll give you a guess. Who's got the third Aston Villa goal? Ollie Watkins. Ramsey had a chance and miscued it. Watkins didn't miscue. He has scored yet again. Aston Villa are going to win yet again. And they're going to win with the most informed striker in the Premier League at the moment, one Ollie Watkins.
He has been absolutely outstanding today against statistically one of the best defences in Europe, let alone in the Premier League, in Newcastle United. And he has been absolutely terrorising them from minute one with that 1v1 chance that he has. And do you know what? He hasn't let it affect him. He hasn't let him affect him that he's missed a few chances. He's just kept going and going. And this one falls right into his lap. Ramsey misses it. He doesn't even have to move. It falls right to him on the penalty spot. He just side foots it towards goal. He gets a tiny little bit of luck as it flicked off Trippier to take it past Pope. And it's only what he deserves.
11 goals in his last 12 games. His last cap was over a year ago. He's only ever started one England international. He scored in it, by the way. I understand why he wasn't selected for the last squad, because Ivan Toney was banging on the door too. And Gareth Southgate is all for continuity and rewarding players who've done so well for the national team in recent times. But if there was an international next week, I think Ollie Watkins might just be in the squad. He's 27 years of age. He's in his prime. It's only his third season in the Premier League. He's been Aston Villa's leading scorer in each of his first 2 seasons here. It was a bit sluggish, his goal-scoring record in the early part of this season. It's absolutely sensational now. And Villa lead by 3 goals to 0. Callum Chambers has come on at right back for these closing moments.
I think it was Ramsey that went off. He was just holding his hamstring, actually. I don't know whether as he actually missed that chance, whether he's then just felt his hamstring. So McGinn's gone to the left-hand side. Ashley Young's now gone out to the right. And Chambers at right back.
McGinn with a little header down, helped on by Moreno. Douglas Luiz has kept it in skillfully, surrounded by 3 Newcastle players. Ball went out of play. I wondered at the start of the day whether Unai Emery might have had some mixed feelings, given that Newcastle were keen to give him first shot at managing the Saudi project. He stayed in Spain, guided Villarreal to the Champions League semi-finals. Newcastle, remember, were deep in relegation trouble at the time. Not many managers are actually given a choice in these matters. Not many managers get to choose what happens next in their career. That decision's usually made for them. Unai Emery made a big call at the time, and there must have been times this season when even he wondered whether it was the right call. but he has just connected with his football club and with its public. And I'm not sure they played any better than this since he arrived. I haven't seen it, if they have. Newcastle coming forward with Bruno Guimaraes. Down the right-hand side, Dendoncker made a challenge. Buendia made a challenge. Yes, Buendia made a challenge. And there's an offside flag up against Guimaraes. And Newcastle haven't taken a beating like that this season.
No, and I think you make a great point. You know, Aston Villa have been getting some great results without maybe putting the whole package together. And today just feels like a culmination of all the work that Unai Emery has put together with this team. And it's just all come together today. They've been absolutely outstanding in every single department. And, you know, this scoreline, it doesn't flatter Aston Villa. Fully deserved.
They hit the woodwork twice in the first 15 minutes, don't forget. Emery actually won all 3 of his games against Newcastle as an Arsenal manager. He wasn't actually officially installed when Villa were beaten on Tyneside back in October. He was watching on then. Aaron Danks was still in charge. They lost heavily to Newcastle back in October 4-0. They're going to win heavily today. Newcastle coming forward down the left-hand side. The target is tripped by Buendia, who is actually putting himself about a little bit and trying to do his bit without the ball, but he's been very creative with it, and that's what Villa want from him most. Free kick to defend. 2 more minutes to defend a 3-0 lead for Aston Villa. This Newcastle free kick is almost like a corner kick, really. Right on the touchline, on the left-hand side. Trippier will swing it in. It's been a bit of a stumble. Shares won it in the air. Headed down by Chambers. Hooked away by Konsa. Still in there. Who wins it? Mings. In his own way, he's been as outstanding as any of the attacking players today. Tyrone Mings, when Villa have needed somebody just to get in the way of Newcastle's attempts to get back into the match, Tyrone Mings has been that man. Sheffield United now lead Cardiff City by 4-1, cementing their lead over Middlesbrough and Luton. 5 points ahead. They're well on the way back to the Premier League. Paul Heckingbottom's done a wonderful job. Still Cambridge 2, Peterborough 0. That's the final score now, incidentally, in League One. And in the Edinburgh Derby closing moments, still Hibs 1, Hearts 0. Dean Ashton, we've seen a terrific game, but actually, in the end, a bit of a mismatch.
Yeah. We'd almost swap these two sides in the league with what we've seen today. But Newcastle will come again. I think they've always recovered well from setbacks under Eddie Howe. They've got to do it quickly though. They want that top 4 spot.
5 of their last 8 games are at St James's. They've got Spurs next Sunday, really big one. Arsenal have still got to go to Tyneside. Villa are at Brentford next weekend, and their final 2 fixtures, Aston Villa, Liverpool and Brighton. 2 of the teams just behind them in the race for Europe. Ball is in the hands of Emi Martinez, their goalkeeper. We're going to see 4 added minutes here. We're also going to see John Duran, the teenage Colombian international forward for Villa, in those minutes. But they've got momentum, and now they've got real form. And with form and momentum comes belief.
Of course it does. I mean, I wouldn't say they've got strength in depth at the moment, Aston Villa. So if they can keep the players fit from now until the end of the season, which is probably why they're about to protect their main man.
Ollie Watkins comes off to a standing ovation. 2 goals and another shot that hit a post. It's business as usual for Ollie Watkins at the moment. John Duran takes his place.
Well, he'll be doing more interviews, that's for sure.
Yeah, we were mildly critical of the fact that he was doing a live television interview just as Aston Villa was starting their warm-up before the game. maybe to old school boys like Dean Ashton and myself, it seemed a bit close to kick-off to be doing media. But he's relaxed in front of the cameras. He's a really good advert for the game, never mind for Aston Villa or Ollie Watkins. He just seems like one of the nice guys. And nice guys don't always score goals in the numbers that he's doing at the moment. But his talent is really excelling, and he's loving life. And Villa are loving what he's doing. They're loving Moreno at the moment because he's protecting the ball very skillfully down by his corner flag. Mings clears his lines, turned on by Buendia. It's come for Ashley Young. It's early forward for Durant to chase. Pope has come way off limits to clear it and has done just that. Ashley Young heads it forward. He's going to have to chase it himself. Pope's back in his goal and actually has the ball long down the field. Header forward by Tyrone Mings. John Duran is on the ball for Aston Villa, just on the edge of the penalty area. Big strapping South American forward, but he's not interested in attacking the penalty area. He wasn't initially. He was trying to waste time, and then he turned and peeled. Then he went forward, and then he fouled Sean Longstaff, and he's going to pick up a yellow card. John Duran, he's had an eventful few moments on the field. Longstaff wants an argument with him. Yellow card shown to John Duran.
I mean, he's done the right thing in terms of trying to protect it in the corner, but then it was a stupid challenge as well.
Don't forget, 9 o'clock tonight, Fight Night Live, commentary on Joe Joyce versus Ile Zhang at the Copper Box in London, and we've got live Premier League commentary on Talksport 2, Tottenham Hotspur versus Bournemouth coming up at 3. Newcastle United coming forward. Young's header falls for Konsa, and he falls under pressure from Callum Wilson's challenge. And just in case you're not aware of it, there is a Premier League game on Monday night of next week, and that is exclusively live here on Talksport, and it's Leeds United versus Liverpool. So do join us for that. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff on Talksport, 8 o'clock on Monday night. Well, we've had a rousing game to kick off our Talksport weekend here. Long clearance down the field by Martinez, but a game which has really signalled Aston Villa as a very real force in the race for European places. Wilson is racing after the ball on the edge of the Villa penalty area for Newcastle. 3-0 Aston Villa lead. Mings makes another challenge. McGinn makes another intervention. Referee's seen enough. Aston Villa fans could have watched another hour of this. They have been absolutely fabulous today. Ollie Watkins hit a post from their very first attack in the very first minute, and they just went on from there. Unai Emery is walking down the touchline here, being applauded to the rafters of Villa Park. Big smile across his familiar features, and he disappears down the tunnel with a final handshake from one of the security guards as his players lap up the applause of the whole 10. Jacob Ramsey scored their first goal after 11 minutes. Ollie Watkins added 2 more in the second half. Aston Villa 3, Newcastle United 0, and that scoreline does not flatter the home team.
Clive Tilsley, thank you very much. You know, I can barely hear the commentary over the music, over the cheers and over the applause here at Villa Park. It has been one-way traffic all the way in those 90 minutes. It's been an extraordinary contest from Aston Villa's point of view, extraordinary from Newcastle's point of view as well, because this is not what we've seen from Newcastle United this season. Yes, they've dipped in form at times, certainly before that cup final, but this was a very, very bad performance from them. But all credit to Aston Villa. They bulldozed Newcastle in that first half, bulldozed them in the second half as well. Ollie Watkins with 2 goals and a goal disallowed as well. What a performance from him. I think Clive said this in commentary. It's now 5 consecutive Premier League wins for Aston Villa. The last time they did that was under John Gregory in 1998. Newcastle had won their last 5 going into this game. Some Something had to give. Someone's good run had to come to an end, and it was Newcastle's today. The today belongs to Aston Villa and to Ollie Watkins and to all those players who have contributed. It was a good individual effort from many of the players, a good team effort, solid. And they're the ones who take the 3 points. 11 games in 12 Premier League. 11 goals in 12 Premier League games for Ollie Watkins today. What a performance from him, Dean Ashton. We can see him there hugging the press officer, Tom. Big smiles. And the crowd here, I mean, they're dancing. What an atmosphere.
I know, and it's the players, the manager that have created it. I thought they were absolutely wonderful today in the game, and Newcastle weren't at their best, but I think even they'll just hold their hands up and say, do you know what, Aston Villa were just too good today for us. Everything went right. He picked Dendoncker in that midfield, and he played his part. It just all worked, and it's the best I've seen Aston Villa this season, that's for sure, and under Unai Emery. And Ollie Watkins, I mean, it's the best centre-forward performance, up there with a couple of Haaland's performances that I've seen this season. He was so dominant.
Well, the teams with the most Premier League points in 2023, Aston Villa, currently at, obviously the weekend's only just begun, but they top that table at the moment. 32 points since the turn of the year. City on 31, Arsenal on 30. That just tells you exactly what a great job Unai Emery is doing and what he did today, because he set up tactically differently to how he has in previous games. He set up specifically for this Newcastle side, and in the end I guess it's the battle of tactics that won the game.
Yeah, I think he recognised that Newcastle are so strong in the middle of the pitch with Guimaraes, Willock and Joelinton, and he outnumbered them in there with 4 plus Buendia at times, and it really worked, and it just meant that Newcastle couldn't get anything going. And the only time they did have some extra players was wide, and they weren't good enough. Gordon and Murphy weren't good enough today, and that could have been the difference, I would have said. But I was so impressed with Villa, honestly. I think it's going to take a good team at the moment to beat them.
Yeah. Do you know what? They started the weekend in the top 6. They're going to finish the weekend in the top 6 as well, because only 7th place Brighton are behind them, but they're 4 points behind them. They're looking in such good nick at the moment. I'm like, can we even talk about a top 4 finish? I mean, they play United, Spurs, Liverpool and Brighton on the final game of the season. I mean, they could potentially take points off all of them and really mix it up. I mean, it's a long shot at the moment.
Of course it is, and things would have to go their way, but with what we've just witnessed today, I'm pretty sure Gabby will be crowing from the rooftops that Villa have got an opportunity, and right he should, and Villa fans should enjoy this, because that was a special performance today. And they might, it's unlikely they'll get top 4. They'll hopefully, from their point of view, get a European spot. But I tell you what, it would give me so much positivity to think, well, that's what we can expect maybe going forward and next season if we add to that as well. I think they should be excited.
Very, very excited indeed. I mean, I tell you what, it's not even going to be. It's going to be the Jamie Who show. It's all going to be Gabby Bonlaw today from 5:30, isn't it?